to the Card and Comic Show. Welcome back to Cards and Comics. I have hopefully a short video for you today, but it's a really cool one for me. This is the PSA submission that I sent out at the National, and it just arrived back to me. And I want to go through, the cards I submitted, and I got them in 3 piles. I'll call it the good, the okay, and the ugly. And we'll spend more time about the ugly cards and kind of what I think about it and just my general thoughts on PSA and what I'm going to do with some of the cards. But we'll start here with the good, because I think, I had a lot of fun with this order anyway, because there's a lot of fun cards here. So first off, we'll start here with this really cool, ultra talented Frank Thomas. This is a pretty rare insert. From 2000. It is numbered out of 99. This is 14 and 99. You can see the back there. These are very condition sensitive. So I think a PSA 8 on this card is actually a really good grade. And it's just a really, really nice Frank Thomas card that you don't see very often. And again, it's a sub 100 print run. It's numbered. So to me, this is one of those cards you just don't see it often, and I'm super stoked it got the grade it got. So this is definitely a win in my book on an ultra talented number to 99 Frank Thomas. And you'll see my Frank Thomas collection is starting to pick up the pace a little bit. I'm pretty, mature in my Griffey collection. So it's kind of fun to pick up some of these Frank Thomas cards. Here's another Frank Thomas card. It is the Molten Metal. This is the Fusion Sterling, so this is the blue. And these are numbered out of 500, and this is 24 500, or the Griffey of the cards. But yeah, again, another really clean. And again, you can see the edges. These edges are so sensitive. These cards are super thin and easy to chip. So to me, it's a very clean card for an 8. You don't see much damage at all. So again, to me, it's a win. These cards are tough. My Griffey is a 7, by the way, in this card. So that's 2 Frank Thomas wins. Now here's a massive Griffey win, and it's actually the second copy of this card I have graded this way. So I've submitted this card twice, and I received the same grade twice. But here it is, the cut above Ken Griffey Jr. in a PSA 9. I thought this card was nicer than my first one I submitted, which is sitting right here. So here's the first one I submitted. And there's some stuff here on this holder. I don't know what happened here. We'll just take it out of the holder because it doesn't make the card look nice. Sometimes the sleeves on top of sleeves aren't a good way to display cards, and now it's all stuck together. But there we go. It needs a new sleeve anyway, so, but it wasn't doing this card very good justice. So here's the first one. Here's the second one. So obviously they're both very nice cards. I just thought this card was super clean when I got it, and again, I got it raw. And then the first one on the back, the second one on the back. You see, maybe a little tick of white right there. But again, these cards are incredibly hard to keep perfect. And you see a little tip right there. So I think, they understand that these cards, the way they're die cut, You can't make them all perfect. But this is number 1, and this is now number 2. So, I do have a Griffey collector friend of mine that I ended up selling my second copy to. So, we're in the process of making that transaction happen. So I don't need 2 copies. I just, I got an opportunity to buy a really nice raw card, and I went ahead and took it, and I did think it was going to grade high, and it did. So score 1 for the good guys, because definitely there's some definitely stinkers in this submission that offset some of the winners. So this is definitely a huge win for me in this card right here. Next up is a card that is kind of like it's a great card, but it could have been greater. But it's just a little early for this card. And then this is the Platinum Medallion, 1997. So this is the base card. This is the base Griffey. So this isn't the checklist. This isn't like a subset. This is his playing card. Now, what I meant, this card's a little early was, in later years they're numbered. So the 97 set's value is very limited by the fact that the cards are not numbered. But it's still a Platinum Medallion, so very hard to get, and it's got that cool, almost zebra-like foil pattern on the front. And people still want and love this card. It's an 8. Very condition sensitive set, honestly. So I think it's still a giant win in my book. So, and it's a great card. I've had it for a little while. So another big Griffey win. Now here is, again, my favorite, and obviously the cut above has sold between $1,500 and $2,000, $1,500 and $2,000 recently as a PSA 9. So that's a big card. But I think I enjoy this card more just because of the set it's in and the fact that it's just, I think, one of the cooler looking cards from a set I really love. And this is the 99 Bowman's Best Atomic Refractor Griffey in a PSA 9. And this is a second, to me, major win. I bought this card raw. I showed it on my channel when I bought it raw. I did tell people, at the time, I think it was very nice, high grade. This card was probably a card I really stressed over the most of any card I bought in the last 2 or 3 years. And it's because of this. I bought the card when I was in Chile. So I was in Santiago. The card popped up on my saved search list. I thought the guy had it at a really, really reasonable price. Not too good to be true, but definitely on the low end for what these cards have been bringing raw. So I pulled the trigger thinking like it's going to come back with some kind of crazy issue. And it didn't. I mean, it looked really nice. I inspected it. But I sent it to PSA, and I knew, I'm just like, man, there's no way I got a good deal on a card like this, which are numbered 100, and it's going to grade high. And it came back a 9. And I do think, honestly, this card is hard to find an issue with, honestly. It's number 92 of 100. It's just a sweet card. And I love that refractor pattern. It's the only year they use this type of refractor pattern. A lot of people like the 98 atomic pattern better, and I get that. But again, both of them were very unique, and this is one that you don't, I don't think they've ever used ever since. Maybe they did on other sets I just don't know of, but this is a pattern you don't see very often. So to me, it's a little more unique, but I just love the set. I've talked, a lot about 99 Bowman's Best, and so to get the Atomic Griffey in the base card is beautiful. All I need now is the best, the Bowman's Best, Season's Best. I think the subset version of this card. I have the refractor version of this card, the subset. I need the Atomic, and I'll have all 4 Griffies from that set in the refractor version. So I'll have the complete set. 1 card away. So that's next on my list. But there you go. I'm just really, really, really like that card. Here's 2 cards from, if you guys remember my Nationals pickup video, I did buy a complete set of Fleer Brilliance Shining Stars Pulsars. I submitted 2 to PSA to test the water on how they would grade. I know the Griffey has a little bit of a corner ding, so I may never grade that card, because if I do, it'll be probably with SGC, hoping to get an 8. I think PSA is going to 7 it, or could even 6 it. They've been very tough lately. But here is the Jeter, and again, came back an 8. And I think that's a fair grade. These cards are incredibly tough. Surface, corners, just really tough to keep in good shape. They're very condition sensitive. But I love that rainbow foil refractory finish on the back, and it's got the double-sided, which, on my channel, anything that's double-sided refractor goodness is, definitely on the high list of cards I love, because, they don't do that anymore. It's something that only existed at this time period. Maybe they'll bring it back. I don't know, but it looks awesome to see that. So there's the Jeter in an 8. And here is the Frank Thomas in an 8. So I tested them, and I honestly, these were two of the nicer ones I had. And I just posted the rest of the cards on Instagram if you want to see the rest of the set. But this makes the set complete. Will I grade the other cards in the set? I might, if there's some grading specials or whatever. Again, the Griffey might end up at SGC at some point. We'll see. I do have cards going to go to SGC pretty soon, so we'll see if it goes in that order. But there you go. There's the Frank Thomas, and there's the back. And again, I think 8 is a fair grade. And you can just look at the card. I mean, it's not that bad. But if you were to really analyze that surface, there are probably some scratches and some little imperfections in this card. But they don't come up for sale very often. So to me, getting the full set was just kind of a cool once in a lifetime deal. Kind of like one of the lone football cards in this whole. Actually, I think there's one more, but that's in the bad pile. So we'll get to that one. But here is the cut above Barry Sanders. Now, I knew this card was a little bit more condition or lesser condition than the Griffey. So coming back in 8 wasn't a bad deal. The front is actually very nice. I think if you flip it over in the back, you'll see it has maybe a little bit more white showing. Yeah, I mean, if you look at this one spike there, you can kind of see a little bit more damage. See on that spike on the far left, if that's what they're looking at. Again, these are just tough because of how the die cut was done. It's hard not to make those die cuts without creating some cardboard damage to that little fin area. So it's an 8. It's a Barry Sanders. I love it. It's my first big Barry I've kind of put in a holder in a while. So this is cool to get that guy knocked off the list. And, I'll take it. It's an 8. It's a cool card. And last but not least is a card that super kind of excited about. So I, for people who, have tuned in over the years to my channel, I've talked about, with these 90s refractors, I'm not a peel the protector off of the card kind of guy. In fact, I don't peel hardly at all. In fact, my Griffey 99 Finest refractor still has the peel on it. And I get so much when I posted that card the first time, because it came back in 8. I got so much hate about it because everyone's like, dude, peel the card, you'll get a 9 or maybe even a 10. And it makes that card worth so much. I'm like, well, I mean, I kind of like the original state cards. I don't like to alter them. But this Frank Thomas, the gold refractor, which is just seeing it. I mean, it's just such an impressive, die cut on the edges, beautiful, just a super good looking set. I mean, anyone who has been paying attention to 90s inserts and parallels, this set has gone nuclear to some extent. The value of these gold refractors has just gone up quite a bit. This card, when I received it, one of the corners was peeling up. And so I didn't have to really damage the card to try to get that started. And so I went ahead and peeled it, submitted it, and got a 9. And I know if I would have kept the peel on it, it would not have 9. It would not have. So it's an impressive card. It is definitely a beautiful card. Again, double-sided refractor. Now this is my second refractor. I'll be having a mail day pretty soon. Now this is a sterling, so this is considered a subset. But I just picked up, and I'll show it real quickly, the base. So I've got 2 golds now. And I'll talk about that other Frank Thomas in a video when I receive my my super cool next Frank Thomas. I'll do a little special video on those cards I've picked up recently. But yeah, this is definitely, and it came back at 9, and I think that it's fair grade. I don't, think any card can be a 10 or should be a 10 because it's just subjective. But this card is, one of those great looking cards. I don't have the Sterling Griffey. I have the base Griffey and the gold. So I've got 2 more Griffey golds and 1 more Thomas gold to get. And I have no Jeters. So that's definitely on the list to look for. So that's the pile of the good of definitely I call winning. All those to me are winners. The next pile is I call okay, kind of a push, or they're not, anything special for the grade, but they're still cool cards and the grade is fine. First up is a 1997 Bowman's Best Atomic Refractor Derek Jeter. And this is definitely the X-Fractor pattern. I think it's kind of steroids. I think it's a little bit more than most X-Fractor patterns, but maybe it's the same. But it is definitely very shiny, has a lot of motion to it. Again, these cards are not numbered, and this is not the preview. So for anyone who wants to know the difference, the previews a lot of times will have a BP in front of them or a P or something to designate that it's the preview, which comes out of normally just the Bowman base set. So, in Bowman, they'll have like a preview of the Bowman's Best set, and they'll have atomic refractors in it. It's not what this is. This is from the actual base set. 10-8. It's a cool Jeter card. And again, would I prefer to 9? Yes. Is the card still cool? Yes. So I'm not going to be too upset about it. It's just, it's an okay grade. I was hoping for a little bit better. Next up is again one of the non Mariners Griffey cards. This is the gold label from 2000. And again, some 2000 Griffey cards still are show him as a Mariner. This one doesn't. This is the class 3 gold, and these are numbered out of 100. And you can see that really nice stamping there. And again, I have another one of these, so there is different classes. Gold label's a little confusing how they do the classes, and then they sometimes have different color logos and all that. So it's got a lot of cool stuff in it. I like the die cut. It reminds me a lot of that gold die cut from Finest. It's like kind of like a more a more pronounced version of that die cut from 99 Finest. So it's a cool looking card. It's a Griffey as a red, so obviously it's going to have that, not as cool card if it was a Mariner card, but just a lot of fun. And there you go. Number 4 out of 100. And so again, the grade itself is just, it's okay. Same way for this one, this 99 Bowman's Best Jeter refractor. This is the best performer. So this is the one I was trying to remember. I need the Griffey Atomic. I have the Griffey refractor. And so now I have the Jeter refractor. So again, just a lot of, real cool shiny card. And these are numbered out of 400. So again, it's the grade I was, like kind of the lowest I was, expecting. So I was hoping for the 9. Again, everyone wants 9s and 10s. So it's just okay. It's an okay grade. Nothing special. And the card itself isn't as huge as some of the other cards. And last but not least is the Skybox Exceptional 2000 Green. So these are the closest things we're going to get to Jambalayas in the 90s. or 2000s for Griffey. The EX Exceptionals came in different colors, I think red, blue, green. And so these were numbered out of $8.99, or sorry, $9.99. And again, it's an 8, and I'm trying to figure out, is it the edges here, chipping here, that got the 8. I mean, there's a little right there. You can see the little bit of chipping there. Maybe a little chipping on the front. I don't know. It's a nice card. I mean, I know these have gotten a little more popular recently, just because they are basically jambalayas, just a different name. If they were called jambalaya, this card would be worth a lot more money, but it's not. So it's a cool looking card. It's a Griffey is a red card, so it's that whole not worth as much type thing. So it's just a cool card. Came back in 8, which was not. I was hoping for a little bit more, but it is what it is. Still a cool card to go in my collection. All right, now for the bad. These are painful for me to show you guys. We'll start with the least painful one here, because to me this at least makes sense, and it's a pretty rare card, so I don't really think it matters really what this grade is. But it's the Essential Credentials Future from 2003 Fleer, or EX. So this card is numbered out of 27. We'll go right there. Number 27. Graded a 5. And I knew going in this card had some damage, and that damage is easy to see right there. So you can see that foil right there has that little line right there. And I couldn't tell if that's a crease, if that's just how the card was made. But again, this card is different materials all kind of glued or pressed onto one substrate or one acetate. And it's hard to make all that work. And so what I'm seeing here is that, that most likely happened while it was being made. And how they stuck or glued that foil down or whatever, pressed that foil, it just didn't work. And I think it just caused that little bit of bubbling right there. And PSA gave it a 5. There's only 27 cards of this in existence, and they may all have that defect. I don't know. And will PSA always hammer it to a 5 every time they grade it? I don't know either. So this is a card I could theoretically pop and see if SGC gives it a little bit higher grade. I don't know. But to me, it's super low numbered, and it's a 2003. So it's really much later than I normally collect a lot of Griffey cards. So it's kind of a little bit even an anomaly in my own collection. But I thought being so low numbered, it doesn't really matter what the grade is. I was just hoping that it would come back maybe like a 6 or 7. So it's not as egregious as some of these other grades you'll see here in a minute. So that one's at least a little understandable. Next one up again, and again, I need to look at the card a little bit more. I don't understand it, but I got this card right out of the pack and sent it to PSA. So, and I'm going to talk about it sort of like some theories I have on grading right now with PSA or just in general. But the Julio Rodriguez Blue Moon Refractor, and again, this is my favorite subset from this year, that year's Cosmic Chrome, number 99. Rookie card, came back a 6. So I'm looking at it. I'm looking for obviously a corner ding, something really egregious, something that a divot, a ding, something that really would make this card not great, at least a 7. And again, I'm not really seeing it. So I don't know. I don't know what they saw on this card. Maybe here on the back, right here on this corner. See that looks like a little ding on that back corner. But again, that little ding should not be a 6. So, I mean, I can disagree with the grade right now. It's in the holder. It's hard for me to really see. I'll most likely pop it out of this holder and just see if I can find where there's something more egregious in that little corner. And I'm not even sure. Can't really tell what that is. See it right there. But if that's all it is, I'm not sure that's a 6. We'll see. I mean, I'm not going to just blatantly say it's undergraded, but if that's all there is, that's definitely not enough to me to make it a 6. But we'll talk about it in just a second when I show the rest of these cards. But that definitely was disappointing because it came right out of a pack. And in fact, it's on my channel when I open it. You can see the video where I pulled the card. Next up is Lynchpins. Frank Thomas came back at 6. And so, I've had this card for a long time. I looked at this card tons of times. And I saw this card, and then I saw why they graded it a 6. And we'll just go right to it. And right there. See that corner? That little crease corner? That is what got this card. Right there, you can see it. Yeah. So, here it is. Because I just showed 2 cards in a row. Got a 6. There is no way I submitted this card with that crease corner. I'm just going to tell you that, I looked at this card, and so I submitted this through a third party. We both looked at all the cards, and we actually took some cards in and out of the order that we thought wouldn't grade as high. I'm pretty sure that damage occurred after, it was looked at and put in the order. So I'm not saying PSA damaged it, that company damaged it, but you got to remember there's a lot of supply chain. There's a lot of handling of the cards and shipping and mailing and opening and grading. And can these kind of this card, if anybody's handle this card, they're thin, it's easy to damage. And could this card have been damaged during all that handling? I think so. And I'll talk about it a little bit more. But I know for sure, 100%, that I've owned this card for a long time. I've looked at it a lot. And I had someone else look at it before I submitted it. We would have seen that. That's pretty obvious. And it's not a hidden defect like this card where I don't know really where they're looking at. To see it, this card, it's so blatantly obvious that you can just see it after 1 second that there's an issue. So, I'll get into it in a second, but yeah, I never would have submitted that card with that kind of condition issue. And then we get into this one. There we go, guys. That's everyone's nightmare who collects Griffey cards or just 90s in general. So let's look at this card. So the issue with this card happens right there. Now, this set and these cards are very, they're foil, and I don't know if that's a crease. I don't know where that goes through on the card. I'm going to look on the back here. Yeah, and you can see right there. Yeah. So there's something going on right there. So, so that definitely, again, made it through me and another individual who look at these cards and I just don't think that was there. And the fact that it's corners, right? It's corner. I'm pretty sure that this card was damaged at some point, either in shipping, handling, opening, receiving. Again, and I'm not trying to, I'm not the big conspiracy guy in this stuff, this kind of stuff. So, being in manufacturing and shipping and receiving, working with, complicated supply chains, in my current, working with companies, I'm for folks, I'm a food safety and regulatory expert, but I deal with, supply chains and issues that happen in supply chains that could cause quality issues. Damage is the number one issue with supply chains. When you ship something, receive something, open something, package something, you can damage the product. And I honestly think this is just an example of cards being damaged or, unknowingly being damaged. And I'm not saying the grader's damaged, and I'm not saying that individual damaged the cards, but we've seen a lot of videos and this can happen. So I just want to say, for people who have that fear that the cards could get damaged during this process, that, in my time since gradings, in the early 90s, or say mid to late 90s to now, every time, we submit cards, or I submitted cards, or anyone who just starts it, your number one fear is that your high-end cool cards are going to get damaged. in that whole process, right? You're going to have the grader damage it, or the guy opening the box damage the card, on and on. So yes, that is a huge fear of anyone, handling these really high priced cards, to send cards into someone you don't know. And the odds are at some point cards are going to get damaged. And so I know people take before and after photos. On this case, I do have photos before and after, but do I have that detailed of a photo to really say, okay, this specific spot right here wasn't damaged? I can go back and look, but I probably don't. And this Frank Thomas, that little spot there, that's that crease corner. Again, I may have photos that show it being okay, or may not. It's just the thing. I think, PSA and, and people working in that quality group need to work on, hey, how can we prevent damage to cards during our own shipping, handling, receiving of cards? But you're going to take that risk. And I think this is an example where 2 cards probably had poor handling at some point. It could have happened by the third party I used. It could have been me when I put it in the sleeves and holders. But I know those cards were not, damaged to that level before I, decided to submit them. Because again, we went through all the cards, me and another person, before they were submitted. So just disappointing. I think a 3 is just aggressively ugly. It's an aggressively ugly grade. But you see that damage, and it's hard to argue that that card shouldn't have been hammered. But it's just, not fun. And last but not least, and it's not all the ugliness, we got this really fun men's size Peyton Manning early road to the Hall card. Now, they say it's men's size, so I'm going to show you the only thing I can think of, and which is right here. If you look at the top edge, it does look a little wonky. So I'm going to try to find another one of these, because one of the things you can definitely do is there's lettering up here, right? You see Hall, and this card is numbered. It is number 20 of 100. But I'm going to look to see if, there's other cards and see how much of those letters are up there. And they may not all be cut perfectly. So that's maybe a poor way of looking at it. But it's another visual aid. Could someone have trimmed that top edge? Could someone have done that? It's feasible. It's possible. But I would suggest, too, that this card isn't a huge card. It is a numbered refractor from 1999. But these cards haven't done the Griffey, Brady, $1,000 type, card, $1,500 card. It's not like that. So I'm not sure it's really worth the effort to trim, but you could trim any card if you really want to. Could it be just a wonky cut from the factory? Sure. That can happen. So we'll see. I'm going to look at it a little bit further, but that didn't get graded. And so, obviously there's a few cards here that I might send back to SGC just to see what they come back with. This card here, I'm going to, look at that damage a little bit and just see. Yeah, that's just, kind of is what it is. It's number out of 100, but, there is probably no, that's definitely a card that has issues, but like this, Julio Rodriguez might be a card I look at, and if I think that corner wear damage isn't enough to suit a 6, or this essential credential card. So I might send a few of these cards back to SGC just to see what they think and, see what those grades are. I'll measure this card and I'll do all the things here to see if this actually is small or could be trimmed or whatever, and we'll see what we get. But yeah, that's the order, guys. Honestly, this card, thank God this wasn't like the Frank Thomas, right? Or, one of the big Griffey cards. So I can at least handle the fact that even though I like Peyton Manning, he is a PC guy, at least it wasn't a huge card. I would have loved for that card to get graded. But my favorites from the order, go back into it. The Frank Thomas gold card was a really cool card. Really excited about this card, just because that's such a tough card to grade. And, you know, any card number to 99 is a beautiful, you know, those three cards are just really, you know, to me, what the 90s are about, you know, die cuts, refractors, cool low print cards, and then just, you know, some more fun 90s cards, platinum medallions. And last but not least, you know, this card here is just, you know, one of my top cards, just from a personal perspective. Just, I love this set and this card. So there it is, guys. That is my, you know, PSA mail day for cards I submitted at the National. Let me know what you think, and I'll talk to you next time on Cards and Comics. Bye.